Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and the blessing is due to Yahweh Bahashem HaMashiach Malak Yahushai. Secondly, this is Brother Yardan, WFI Detroit, coming back at you with yet another cold cut. Today in this cold cut, we'll be doing a quick lesson on walking alone in the truth. Because there's a lot of brothers and sisters scattered abroad that walk alone in this truth. Alright? 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 7, especially for those who just came into this truth, right? You want to feel the most alone that you've ever felt in your life. Yeah, sometimes it's not always bad being alone. That's not always a bad feeling. Because when you're alone, you have time to reflect and to self-examine yourself. And that's all what this truth is about, to get back up, to self-examine yourself. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 7. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. And one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. And that's so like it. This is a parable. This is a parable. This is a hip talk, right? This is the kingdom, pretty much. And Yahushai made reference to this. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 17. Because when we're in this truth, there's only one way we can go. And that's the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right, on the right-hand side, you have fire. And on the left, you have water. And the fire and the water represents tribulations and trials and things of that nature. You know, your daily hell that you go through, that cup that you drink up every day, you know, and you hear the water, they roaring, they touching your feet. Sometimes it may drown you. If that don't get you, the fire might consume you. So you have to stay on that narrow path. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. So like, yeah. Seven and 13. And it reads, Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to the destruction, and many there be which go on in thereat. Right? So in this truth, you have to walk straight and narrow. Right? And at the end, at the very, very end, is the kingdom, salvation, the Lord, rubies and gold and riches and everything that your mind can imagine in righteousness. That's at the very end. But we have a long walk in this thing. Right? And during our walk, we're going to go through a lot of hell. The fire is going to touch your feet, and the water sometimes may, grab you in. And when you do fall, hey, you got to get back up. You have to get back up. That's the scriptures. You have to get back up. And typically, that fire and water will be the things that you're struggling with. All right. What is that? I want to see Proverbs 27:9. That's a good one. We'll get back to that later, Lord willing. Bear with me. This is Proverbs chapter 27, verse 19. As in the water, face answereth to face, so the heart of man to man. In other words, you have to self-examine yourself. And one way by doing that is looking in the mirror. That's where that saying comes from. It comes from the scriptures, along with many other sayings and even idioms A lot of those things come from the scriptures, right? But the main focus is 27 and 19 as in water face answer to face, you know? So when you look in the water, you see a reflection. And when you really see yourself, sometimes you may not like what you see. And when you don't like what you see, what does that mean? You have to improve yourself. You know, not to nerd out on people, but I remember watching Naruto when I was younger. And there was an episode where he had to look into the water and he saw a reflection of himself. And he didn't like what he saw, you know. And that's a theme that's kind of common in a lot of media, in old movies and probably TV shows. You know, that again, that's where the old saying comes from. Take a long, hard look in the mirror. Right? That's not, you know, literal, make sure you don't have any blemishes, but more so, you know, mentally and spiritually. You know, your spiritual and mental blemishes. Whatever you don't like, whatever's not, you know, looking comely, you work on it. And you work on that by acknowledging your faults, acknowledging where you went off, you know. And it's not always good to be around a whole lot of people, you know, when you self-examine it. Sometimes it's not good to be around a whole lot of people. You know, sometimes you got to be alone for a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being alone for a little. Second Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. So if you're a reprobate, the Lord is not within you. He's not dwelling with you. He's not supping with you. He's not giving you knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and dark parables and sentences. None of those things will be revealed unto you, right? Because you're a reprobate. And you don't want to self-examine yourself. You don't want to self-examine and improve yourself. Brother, you have to understand, and or sister, you have to understand what's good for your life and what's not good for your life. That's why it says in Sirach 37. It's like it's Sirach 37 and 27. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. Right? So in this life, in this walk, you have to understand and acknowledge and really be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what situations you're putting yourself in. Right? Brother, is it comely or is it necessary that you're around a whole lot of wine, knowing how you get when you drink too much? Brother, is it acceptable for you in your life to really be around video games if you get hooked on it? You know, brother, is it comely? Is it wise for you to speak to a woman knowing that, you know, the next step after that, you want to sleep with them? Brother, you have to examine yourself in these days. And sisters, right? You have to prove your soul. Salakia, my son, prove thy soul in thy life and see what is evil for it. Right? And sometimes a lot of Jake, you may say it is not evil for you. But look, you may say it's not evil for you, but the Lord knows it's evil for you. The Lord knows that you don't need to be dealing with that. The Lord knows that you could be spending your time doing something much better than whatever carnal activities you're participating in, whether it's hanging around with worldly friends, doing things that are inconvenient. I don't know, you somehow surrounding yourself with friends that smoke. I don't know, but the person that's watching this video, you know what you don't need in your life, and you need to cut it off. You need to cut it out. And everything that I say to you, I speak to myself as well. So one of my favorite precepts, this is Sirach 33, verse 17. Consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. Right, and this is a true statement. This is very true. For the brothers that's been in the truth for a little while, whether it be a couple of years, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, 10, 20, whatever, you can still gain wisdom, knowledge, and understanding within that short time. You did a lot of laboring through the Spirit. I will hope so, right? And through your labor, you understood a lot of things, right? And with that knowledge that you have, you shouldn't just keep it to yourself. With that wisdom and experience you have, don't keep it to yourself, right? You have to share that. But on a spiritual level, when you read and study and labor through this work, you have to share this word as well. Let no stone be left unturned, because we are trying to get to the kingdom. That one precept that you're reading, hey, a brother might need that precept. You never know what that precept could do for a brother. That precept might stop a brother from committing some sins, doing something that's inconvenient, getting into a fight, a brawl. You never know. So again, everything I say to Israel who may watch this, I speak to myself as well. So it'll behoove me to send more precepts to my brethren. And again, this all goes back to examining yourself, right? Working on yourself, building yourself up through the Spirit. Because in the beginning, again, it's a lonely walk, right? You might find yourself alone for a couple of months, maybe even a year. And again, I'm gonna keep stressing it. That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you need to be alone, Jake. You've been in the world and you've been around carnal people all your damn life. You need a long, hard look at the water. And then when you build yourself up, you have a proper judgment understanding to discern good from evil. And you know what's good for your life, and you know what's not good for your life. And with those tools, you're better able to discern and to judge a friend righteously. Sirach 6:17. Whoso feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright, for as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. Right? And that's another good reason why you need to be alone, or why it's good to be alone in the beginning, because you're going to get a friend that's just like you. If you first come to this truth and you're looking for a friend, you might want, you probably going to trim your ways for love and kind of, however you are in this world, you're going to want him to mirror you, want him or her to mirror you. As they say, birds of a feather flock together. So that's why it's important to reform your mind and subdue your old understanding of the world. It says in verse 18, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, and when you come to this truth, you become a newborn babe. Boom, you're a newborn babe now. And while you're a newborn babe, gather all the instruction and understanding that you can. And it continues this latter part. So shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. It tells us in Proverbs 4:1. Hear ye children the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine, forsake you not my law. All right, so when you start diving and getting immersed into the scriptures and the precepts and the historical background and things of that nature, everything that's godly, then you'll build yourself up and you'll become strong. Now you'll know how to examine yourself, how to go back to the drawing board and, I need to do this now. I need to do that. All right. So that's one, that's a positive to being alone in this truth in the beginning. And then along the way, you'll gather friends. All right. You'll gather so many friends, and a lot of those friends will turn into family. You'll gather so many families and friends, and you would think that you would know them your whole life. Paul had friends. Yahweh had friends. Abraham, the Lord was his friend. So, you know, a lot of the brothers that I just mentioned, a lot of the forefathers I just mentioned, notice how they weren't worldly, right? I say that to say, when you're worldly, you're going to have worldly friends. But if you're spiritual and like-minded, according to the scriptures, you're going to have spiritual, like-minded friends. So with that, I'm going to bid Israel shalom and to stay strong in this truth. Shalom.